is in the air. Everywhere I look around, love is in the air. Every sight and every sound. And I don't know if I'm being foolish, I don't know if I'm being wise, but it's something that I must believe in, and it's there when I look in your eyes. Love is in the air, in the whisper of the trees. Love is in the air, in the thunder of the sea. And I don't know if I am just dreaming, yeah. I don't know if I'm feeling sane, but it's something that I must believe in, and it's there when you call out my name. Love is in the air. Love is in the air. Whoa. Love is in the air, in the rising of the sun. Love is in the air, when the day is nearly done. And I don't know if you're an illusion, I don't know if I see it true, but you're something that I must believe in, and you're there when I reach out for you. Love is in the air, everywhere I look around. Love is in the air, every sight and every sound. And I don't know if I'm being foolish, don't know if I'm being wise, but it's something that I must believe in, and it's there when I look in your eyes. Love is in the air. Love is in the air. Whoa. Yeah, love is in the air. Love is in the air. Whoa. Love is in the air. 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 Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. And welcome, Todd. Thank you so much, all the way through the magic of Zoom from the East Coast.
Yes, indeed.
How wonderful to have you today. Thank
Glad to
you.
be here. Thank you.
So, good morning, everybody on Zoom. It is so nice to be here with you today and to welcome you to the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. I am not Reverend Dr. Keith Cox, as you can see. He is off doing something fun today with a couple of his buddies. I told him not to get into trouble, but he didn't necessarily agree with that. It's my honor to be the guest minister today, my honor. I so appreciate seeing my good friends, Elizabeth and Terry and Lenore and David and Wendy and all the other folks that are on here. It is joining us today. You might be joining us on the YouTube channel, but you're probably on Facebook with us. And we come together every Sunday, as Keith says, every Sunday, to gather and to be in community and to be reminded of how to fulfill our vision statement, which is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. If you haven't had a spiritual awakening in the last couple of years, you may be on a desert island somewhere without a television or without any access to the news. I think we have our awakenings on a daily basis. So each Sunday morning, we take a moment to greet each other through the power of namaste, through the act of namaste. It's a Sanskrit word, which in essence means I bow to you. And not in a supplicating way, but in a way to honor one another. And we use this act as a greeting of honoring the power that resides within each one of us, the higher power, the essence of who we are, the intelligence that is inherent within each one of us. And we call that by many names. As it says in Daniel Nahman's song, we can call it Spirit, we can call it Lord, we can call it Baha'u'llah, we can call it whatever name you give it. And so today, let's, for the purposes of our time together, let's call it Spirit, shall we? And if you will just indulge me for a second and do what Dr. Keith does on Sunday, put your hands together in the prayer position. Place it on your heart, close your eyes, and raise your closed hands to your lips to bless the energy, and to our third eye to open our intuition, and bring it back to our hearts and bow to one another, saying out loud, the spirit in me honors and blesses and celebrates the spirit in you. And I receive the same from you. It's a sweet thing. People tell me who've been to India that walking down the street, very often someone will go into the prayer position as they pass someone they know, or even someone they don't know. So who are we? Well, this is the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, which started out originally as the Los Angeles Church of Religious Science. And it is a center where we welcome all who are on their spiritual pathway, who practice their beliefs in faith and love. And what we teach in the science of mind is not necessarily the science of the brain, as some people confuse mind and brain, but it is the science of consciousness. It's the science of awareness. And it was Ernest Holmes' intention to move everyone that came to hear him on a Sunday morning or read anything that he ever wrote to raise that person's consciousness, or rather to expand that person's consciousness so that it could include all religions, all faiths, all ethnic backgrounds, all races, to include everyone, knowing that there is truly only one mind. The vision statement, again, is supporting individuals finding self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. So knowing that, as I said, we've all had some sort of spiritual awakening over the last couple of years in some form or another. This has been a bit of a tough week for me. I lost two incredibly wonderful friends this week on the same day, young women. And I feel such a sense of sadness for their mothers who are left behind to deal with this, that no child should ever leave the planet before their mother. And I find myself going into moments of sadness and giving myself permission to do that, because both of these women played a significant role in my life. So it is personal self-empowerment when we move through these kinds of things in our lives. As Tom Costa used to say, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I don't have to build a condominium there. So that's kind of where I am today. We perform a ritual here called calling in the light. And it's one of my favorite things. I started it at the Granada Hills Center when I was there many years ago. And we perform this weekly. And the one that I particularly like is in its original form. And we called it a call to service, which is what we're doing here today. So the purpose of this today is to draw into our gathering this morning a conscious awareness of the oneness and the qualities we possess as complete expressions of the divine. So we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all faiths, all peoples, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. The first candle we light is for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle is illuminated for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for all forms of Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle is for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle is lit for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And I would add in here that perhaps if there were a 10th candle, we would light that for all those who are yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives and for the place that we hold for them at CSL-LA. And as we light the healing candle, we ask you to take a moment and think of anyone you would like silently to put into the light of the healing flame to experience the eternal and everlasting love of the divine. And Todd will share calling in the light with us.
Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love. Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love. I am love, I am peace, Spirit, I am so all together. We are whole, calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light of love, calling in the light of love, calling in the light of love. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is, and so it is.
And in that energy of light, please join me in consciousness this morning as we set the tone for the rest of the service. As we go to that perfect place of peace within, we recognize that there is safety in that perfect place of peace. There is a place within each one of us that has never been violated, that knows nothing outside the pure essence of spirit. And so as we find ourselves in that place of peace this morning, we know that there is one power, one presence, one divine idea in the universe that has made itself known by means of each one of us. That since there is no time or space in the mind of God, we are joined without an idea of distance or separation on this call today. And so I know as we've joined together, it is God listening to God and God speaking to God, that this is an opportunity for a conversation made in heaven. That as we are here together today, we are in a space of oneness. We are in a space of love. We are in a space of light. And as we light the candle of another person who may not have been a member of this teaching, we lose no light of our own by lighting another's candle. And so today, we are here to simply know the truth for ourselves, that God in its infinite wisdom so loved itself that it needed form to express, and it expresses as you and I. So today, this service is done and complete in the mind of God, and we're simply here to participate in filling in the details. I know that whatever is said today is something I needed to hear. And so I just rest in the knowledge that this message has been created expressly for me. I know this to be the truth today as I joyfully receive and give thanks for the opportunity to be here and the opportunity to serve in this wonderful way. I know God is in the mix, all is well, as we say together, and so it is. And I think, Todd, do you have another song for us right now?
I certainly do.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
This is, I think this is on the theme today. There's a calm surrender to the rush of day, when the heat of the rolling wind can't be turned away. An enchanted moment, and it sees me through. It's enough for this restless warrior just to be with you. And can you feel the love tonight? It is where we are. It's enough for this wide-eyed wanderer. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best. There's a time for everyone if we only learn that the twist in the kaleidoscope moves us all in turn. There's a rhyme and reason to the wild outdoors when the heart of this star-crossed Voyager beats in time with yours. And can you feel the love tonight? It is where we are. It's enough for this wide-eyed wanderer that we got this far. And can you feel the love tonight? How it's laid to rest. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best. It's enough to make kings and vagabonds believe the very best.
Oh, thank you, Todd. Look, you people, put some love for Todd in the chat. Let him know that we appreciate his being here today and giving up midday Sunday for us to enjoy the time with him. So good morning again, everybody. Some of you came on a little bit late. I want to welcome you to the Zoom message this morning. Again, thanks to Dr. Keith for asking me to fill his shoes while he takes some well-deserved time off. The acronym that Dr. Keith chose for the word love just makes my heart sing. It's life's one vital energy. And that's the definition of the acronym for love. And every relationship that we engage in, every conversation as the basis for communication is a heartfelt endeavor. Sometimes you might not think so when you're yelling at somebody, but the actual truth is everything is life's one vital energy. It is. In fact, Ernest Holmes says that conversation is actually the highest form of intimacy. And I believe that. Ernest also says, well, we'll get to that in just a second. Many of us have experienced difficulty in our relationships over the last couple of years. There is divisiveness and even dissolution of friendship in some cases. Largely, I think through political differences. I have been challenged by a family member's decision not to vaccinate and her belief in some conspiracy theories that don't add up for me. The current issue has to do with the convoy in Canada. Many of you know that I was born and raised in Canada. And have I stopped loving my sister? No. I believe I can separate my love for her from her behavior, just the same way I did when my son acted out when he was 2 years old or 3 years old or 20 years old. I could separate how much I love my son from the activity of his behavior. I love my sister. I don't like her behavior right now. So some of you know my friend Shirley Berman. Next slide, please. Some of us know my friend Shirley Berman. She was the caterer for the event that we had at the temple, where Joanne Worley was part of the entertainment, and who else? The ventriloquist guy. I can't remember his name, but she's a bit of a mystic. And sometimes in our conversations, she comes up with things that just give me pause for thought. She said, there is always something good to notice about another's behavior. So why do we seem to focus on the negative behavior? And I started to think about that. I kind of stopped dead in my tracks when she said this. My disagreement with my sister on 3 or 4 issues doesn't constitute our entire relationship. Life's one vital energy is alive and well in my relationship with my sister. Next, everything that irritates or angers us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Now, Carl Jung, great psychologist, I was quite annoyed when I read that quote the first time, but I realized that it's an opportunity for me to see myself through another person's eyes. Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. said in the 5th agreement that everything in life is filtered through projection or perception. Everything. Can't get away from it. This is true, what Jung said. And when Emerson said, for every 60 seconds of anger we experience, we lose 1 minute of joy, I began to understand that my anger is just an opportunity for me to investigate it and to see what's going on. My children did a bit of an intervention with me about 2 years ago. They stood in my living room and said, Mom, if anyone asked us to describe you, angry is not an adjective we would have used until now. We want you to stop watching the news and engaging in depressing conversations. I thought, wow, have they been a fly on the wall in here for some reason? But it was actually true. I was allowing other people's behavior to affect my own spiritual equilibrium. Well, my first knee-jerk response was to get defensive with them. And yet they were right. They were right. Something needed to change. They made me promise to stop watching CNN and MSNBC. And I did as they asked. And it was such an interesting evolution for me, because I found day by day that the anger and the annoyance at certain behaviors was dissipating, and I could focus that energy in a more positive way, like my friend Shirley said. Next slide. Every day is an end of a journey, and every today is the beginning of a new journey. You know, for my 2 friends who passed away this week, they're beginning a new journey. And so are the loved ones that they left behind, because the family dynamic has changed. Going back to my children's intervention, that is not to say that I'm not informed, because I am. I watch 60 Minutes with Anderson Cooper and sometimes 60 Minutes with Rachel Maddow. They're recorded on my DVR, but sometimes at the end of the week, I simply erase 5 episodes. I'm not tied to the television the way I was. And life's one vital energy is alive and well in my household and in my heart. Next. As Maya Angelou said, we tell people how to treat us, and our challenging situations in life show us how we treat ourselves. You know, when I look back on some of the events in my life that caused me the most emotional pain, I realized that Everything happens for good. Do you know the term gamzo? It's an Aramaic word that loosely translated means everything happens for good. I learned that from Dr. Carlton Whitehead many years ago. How we do one thing in life is how we do everything. And what does that look like for us? Pay attention to this. Watch where errant behavior shows up, because we cannot change anything we cannot acknowledge. And sometimes we have to acknowledge the errant behavior. Next, Ernest Holmes says that we exist in limitless opportunities which are forever seeking expression through us. That's the good, bad, and the ugly, and the wonderful, and the super wonderful, and all those other terrific things that are happening around us. Limitless opportunities for us to really see who we are and how we're expressing on this plane of consciousness. Again, that God so loved itself, it needed form to express, and it expresses as you and me. When we become aware of what is seeking expression through us, why would we engage in negative observations? Why indeed? Next slide. The goal of life, as Joseph Campbell said, is to make your heartbeat match the beat of the universe, to match your nature with nature. When my heartbeat doesn't match the beat of the universe, my emotional distress can show up in physical illness. As someone once said, don't let a good crisis go to waste. I think they were talking about politics, but I'm using it in terms of just everyday living. If we are down with the stomach flu, investigate. What is it in life we can't stomach? If we experience low back pain, for instance, where in life do we feel unsupported? And if my neck constantly hurts, who in my life is a pain in the neck? This woman wrote a book one time called Who's the Matter with You? No, Who's the Matter with Me? She took responsibility. When my throat is always raspy and sore, where am I not speaking the truth? Do I need to continue? No, you get it. You're all smart people. We all get this. But sometimes we forget to apply it in our own lives. Next. When we take risks and do extraordinary stuff, we are finding our voice, and our personal freedom shows itself in grand and glorious ways. How many of us have felt over the last little while that our personal freedom has been usurped in some way? I think that's what's going on for my sister. She's angry because her children and grandchildren are in Canada, and she can't cross the border because she doesn't have proof of vaccination. So she feels she's being controlled by some outside forces. And the difficult part for me was when I got that dreaded phone call that both my sister and her life partner had COVID. So I think about that. She feels controlled by the government because she can't see her grandchildren. But if she were vaccinated, she could see her grandchildren. So it really is not about freedom so much as it is about choice. We have been given dominion over our lives through the freedom to choose. And I understand why some people can't be vaccinated. I understand that completely. I have two friends who have serious autoimmune diseases who can't do it. I understand that. That's a different thing. I think that's a different thing. So we keep apologizing to one another for why things are the way they are. And the next slide is I'm going to I'm going to do some conversation on here because it's about the things we don't need to apologize for. If you'll put that up, please. Thanks, Travis. So some of you might have seen this meme on Facebook a while back. These 10 items are life's one vital energy. Keith just opened up a whole wellspring inside of me when I saw this on Facebook. These items are demonstrating life's one vital energy. And they do this in 10 different ways. So the first one is what we don't need to apologize for. Loving someone does no earthly good for that person if you hold that love in silence. Tell someone today, I love you. Not the curt, love you, mean it, like my son often teases me with, but I love you. The night before my dad passed away some years ago, we found out later that he had called each one of his children, 5 children individually, the night before he died. And he usually would say, your mother and I love you. We love you. But that night he said, I love you and I'm proud of you. I'm proud to be your father, he said. And the next day he made his transition. Some way, somehow, intuitively, he knew, I love you. Saying no. One of the best bits of advice my dad gave me resembles this. He said, when someone asks you to do something for them, say no first. Then if you change your mind, you can say yes. Otherwise, you end up saying yes and having to make excuses for yourself when you can't fulfill your promise. Good advice. The third one is following your dream. In the beginning of the movie, Out of Africa, Karen Blixen is lounging on a chaise while being interviewed. What made you decide to go to Africa? The interviewer asked. Karen said, I was afraid I'd get to the end of my life and find I'd lived someone else's dream. Live your own dream. You know what? Life is too short not to do it. Go places, do things, see people, wear your mask, but see people. Live your own dream. My friends Dylan and Becky moved their 2 children and themselves to Portugal last year, 2 years ago. They're having the time of their life and they're living the dream. The next one, taking me time. We don't have to get sick to have me time. Yesterday, I took a drive down to Sycamore Cove Beach and let the ocean and the salt air restore my ions. I came back refreshed. That was me time. I love driving my car. I could have kept on driving and ended up in San Francisco at the beach, but I just didn't have the time to do it. The fifth one, your priorities. Make a list each day of 10 things you want to do. Find the 5 most important and do those. If the other 5 show up on your list tomorrow and the next day and the day after that, perhaps they really aren't priorities. Only you can know that. Number 6, ending a toxic relationship. Do I even have to say anything about that? Because we all have some of those in our lives. And I think the pandemic and the quarantine has given us an opportunity to evaluate which friends are the most important to us. Number 7, your imperfections. Never, ever focus on your real or imagined imperfections. You are the perfect you God created in its image and likeness. Remember that sappy, some of you might remember that Sappy Alliance song. I love this myself the way I am. If some of you do remember, the lyrics go, I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. I used to cry my eyes out every time I heard that song, those lyrics, because I didn't believe it. Now I do. Life's one vital energy. I love myself the way I am. Number 8, standing your ground. Don't let anyone bully you. There's a new phenomenon I've noticed. It's called soft bullying. I don't care. Bullying is bullying is bullying. But this is soft bullying. It might look like cajoling, but it is really someone trying to get what they want by soft bullying with a smile on their face. And it's confusing. I was confused by my own experience of soft bullying recently. When we know what we believe in, no one can bully us. Get clear as to what that is. If you have to sit down and write it out, then do it. It is the joy of becoming, as the title of this talk implies. Number 9 is delay in your response. Another bit of good advice my pop gave me: when someone asks me to do something and there is hesitation on my part, I say to that person, give me 24 hours to think about it. Easy peasy. In 24 hours, I can muster up the courage to say no, or I can muster up the courage to say yes and move forward doing something I really want to do. Telling the truth is the last one. Don Miguel Jr. was right about this one. Be impeccable with our word. God doesn't know from big or small. A little white lie is still a lie. When we tell the truth, we don't have to tap dance our way through the myriad lies that we have to create to keep the lie going. In my work with Maria Nemeth, I learned that success is doing what we said we would do consistently with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. And that means telling the truth as well. Next slide, please. This one also came off Facebook. Always remember this: grapes must be crushed to make wine. Diamonds form under pressure. Olives are pressed to release oil. Seeds grow in darkness. Whenever we feel crushed, under pressure, pressed, or in darkness, we're in a powerful place of transformation. Trust the process. So we're forming a club today. It's called the TTP Club, Trust the Process. My friend Walter Starkey used to say to me on a regular basis, whenever I would tell him this isn't working or that isn't working, he would say, Maureen, trust the process. There's something bigger at issue here. He always said, it'll be all right in the end. He was a mystic, and I was one of his late life friends. He'd lived a full and wonderful life, and I wish sometimes that I had known him in the days when he and Joel Goldsmith were friends, but I didn't. He was one of the kindest people I've ever known. Just thinking of me reminds me of that wonderful Emerson quote, do a kindness now, for you never know how soon it will be too late. This talk took a bit of a ramble today, but I think there are a few salient points to remember, and I needed to hear everything I said. Give of yourself in a loving and generous way today, and you will know the joy of becoming, knowing with God all things are possible. Will you join me in consciousness, please? As we move into this time in our service today, we know that whatever information contained in this talk today was valuable to anyone here. Whatever may have piqued your interest, whatever may have given you a moment's pause. That is that innermost voice of intuition speaking gladly through us. And so I know today that we are blessed by one another's presence here, that today is a good day. We woke up this morning. We feel alive, awake, and aware. If we're feeling pain, then we're still feeling. If we're feeling joy, we're still feeling. And if we're feeling love, love's one vital energy. We are in the right place at the right time, doing the right things, knowing, as I said, with God, all things are possible. All righty, Todd, I think you're up again. Okay, Todd, where are you?
Dr. Marine, it appears we've lost Todd.
Oh, gosh. I hope he finds himself. Oh, we lost him earlier today. Oh, there he is. No, that's not, there he is. Yes.
Hey, everybody. Sorry. You can hear me okay, yes?
Yes,
Okay. Shall I make some music?
you should. Yes, that would be wonderful.
Let's do it. No New Year's Day. Celebrate. No chocolate covered candy hearts to give away. No first of spring, no song to sing. In fact, it's just another ordinary day. No April rain, no flowers bloom, no wedding Saturday within the month of June. But what it is something true, made up of these three words that I must say to you. I just called to say I love you. I just called to say how much I care. I just called to say I love you, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. No summer's high, no warm July, no harvest moon to light one tender August night, no autumn breeze, not even time for birds to fly to southern skies. No Libra sun, no Halloween, no giving thanks to all the Christmas joy.
Well, he's frozen, but he looks very dramatic in his frozen mode. Oh, bless his heart. He was having trouble with his computer this morning. And we'll just know it's the perfect song and he'll be on for our closing song. So this is the time of conscious giving for CSL-LA. And I know that there's some sort of graphic that we're going to put up for conscious giving. And Travis is going to do that. Maybe you all probably already know how to do this, and go to the website www.cslla.org and click on donate, or go to the app Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, click on the upper left bars and screen will come up and see the donate tab. And our address, if you're still mailing in checks, which is CSL-LA 1200 North La Brea Avenue, West Hollywood, 90038. All these options are on our website and weekly e-newsletters, and we're working on a one text click to make your donation. Thanks for continuing to contribute to the financial health and well-being of CSL-LA. I know that Dr. Keith is working on a startup date, an in-person startup date in the near future as the rate of COVID goes down and we recover some of our quote unquote freedom in life. So I want to thank Todd today. He has still the closing song. And I want to thank Travis, who is always at the ready to help. Wonderful. And Robert Hensley, thank you so much for watching out for us on Sunday morning. I'm so happy to see all of you today. It's just been a pleasure to be here. And I'd just like to close with a quick treatment. I will be on the fellowship for a few minutes. You can stay on Zoom if you want to be on the fellowship, and then you can show your faces so I can see who you are and remember who some of you are. So for those of you who are leaving, let's just close this out with a quick awareness this morning, knowing that the power and presence of Spirit has made itself known by means of everyone here today. That as we have shared this time and space, whether from nearby or far away, we are close in one mind, and life's one vital energy has expressed itself through each and every one of us today. I know that this is not the way many of us intended to do church services on a Sunday morning, but aren't we glad we have this technology so we can still stay in touch with each other? So we are blessed. We are blessed in myriad and beautiful ways, knowing that always God is in the mix, all is well, as we say together, and so it is. Thank you for having me today. Thank you, Dr. Keith, for giving me the what is no, whatever that is that you did for love, the acronym. Oh my gosh, my brain. I've used up all my words. I'm sorry, I have to leave now. No, I'll be on the fellowship. Please, please, just know that you are loved and that God sees itself in you every time you look in the mirror. Take care, everyone. See you later.